So hello, my name is David from David Books and Comics. Thank you for subscribing to my videos, those who have, and I welcome more per subscriptions. I have a lot more to present from my different tastes and different collections and some of my rare paperbacks. So this is the first. I wanted to present the Fritz Leiber Sword and Sorcery novels of Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. This is the first in the series. Now, Fritz Leiber, for the first time, collected all of his Grey Mouser and Fafhrd novels into a series of books published initially by Ace Paperbacks. They first came out in paperback original, the collections came out in paperback original novels and original anthology collections, including one novel, and eventually were subsequently reprinted by the publisher, by Ace, and by others later on. So this is the first book in the series. Now the name Sword and Sorcery, like I said in a previous video, was based on a correspondence between Fritz Leiber and Michael Moorcock, who created the Elric of Melniboné series. And Fritz Leiber, or was it Michael Moorcock, asked Fritz Leiber what would be a good name for this genre fiction, fantasy fiction that were subgenre of fantasy, and it was Leiber who came up with the name Sword and Sorcery. And both these writers were inspired by the C.L. Moore, Jirel of Joiry, but mainly by Robert E. Howard's Conan and King Cole stories that appeared in Weird Tales and other pulp publishers. So this is the first book in the series of Fritz Leiber's compilation collections, Swords and Deviltry. And this is anthology series, so it features several of his stories. Um, the Snow Women, and it tells you when they were first published and where. Unholy Grail and Ill Met in Lankmar. And as it says here, Ill Met in Lankmar won both the Nebula and later on the Hugo Award uh, for Best Short Fiction. So that's the first. And here is the second, Swords Against Death series by Fafhrd, featuring Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. The artist for this series was, for all of the books, was Jeff Jones. And here's the third book in the series, Swords in the Mist. And it has their copyright dates when they were published initially. And you see Adept's Gambit is one of the earliest stories written. According to the sources I've read, Adept's Gambit was written actually much earlier, but eventually published by Arkham House in 1947. Written in, handwritten in 1939. So that's Swords in the Mist, Jeff Jones cover. And we have Swords Against Wizardry. Again, anthology. And there you have a line drawing of the Grey Mouser. Copyright 1968. And this map was actually drawn by Jeff Jones. So that's Swords Against Wizardry, and this is the novel, Swords of Lankmar. A nice quick read, fun to read. Good descriptor at the back. Fafhrd was a huge, full-bearded barbarian from the Northlands, his weapon a broadsword. The grey Moser was a small, nimble man dressed all in grey. He carried both rapier and dirk, and sometimes he carried a dagger called a main gauche in his left hand. So he carried both a sword and a dagger. So that's Swords of Lankhmar. And this is the last book in the series. It's probably the best painted depiction of the two characters that I've ever seen. This is Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser in all their glory. Beautiful blue covers with the wisps of wind in the background. And this is a paperback original published in 1977. The stories appeared in different stories in different sources, but this was the first time they were actually compiled in one volume. Beautiful book, nice cover. Here we have the comic book that came out from Dark Horse, and this is a compilation of the different comic books that they published, featuring the two characters, drawn by the Mike Mignola. And you see Al Williamson helped to ink, and Howard Chaykin also helped to draw. Beautiful, beautiful book. Uh, it features the story, the Nebula Award-winning story, You'll Met in Lankhmar. In hardcover, this was the first time that Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser actually appeared in hardcover, was in this book club compilation of the first three novels, of the first three um, anthology books: Swords and Deviltry, Swords Against Death, and Swords in the Mist. And then they came out with the third hardcover, or sorry, the second hardcover, and it has the next three compilations: Swords Against Wizardry, Swords of Lankhmar, and Swords of Ice and Magic. And I believe the Swords of Lankhmar should have, yes, this is a map of Nuon, the world of Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. And if you look carefully at its Nowen, that's Fritz Leiber's nod to fantasy. So this is excellent read. Very quick, enjoyable reads. And again, the best depiction is this one. And here's the last book in the series, and the last appearance, the climax of the adventures of Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. This is Knight and Knave of Swords, and this is a first edition hardcover of the adventures of Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser. And it features it's an anthology book, and it does feature some more of the short stories and adventures. Finally, I wanted to present some more of the Amazon Warrior Sword and Sorcery novels. And the first one I'll present is what people call the Silverglass series. Now, the Silverglass series features, this is the last book in the series. I'll try to go in order here. This is the first book in the series. This is the Silverglass series. And it features this character, Corson, which is the main protagonist. And in the background, you see Lady Nictasia. She's the person who hires her. Now, Corson is a sword for hire kind of mercenary. And this is a beautiful wraparound cover by Luis Royo. Um, Beautiful painting cover here. Um, so that's the first book, Silverglass. The second book in the series is called Web of Wind. And again, this one is also a wraparound cover by Luis Arroyo. It's some of the glare out. And here's the third book in the series, Mistress of Ambiguities. Now, these were all published by Ace Books. They feature some nice comments by other writers like Fritz Leiber, Jessica Amanda Salmonson, and so on. Um, this is Mistress of Ambiguities. And this is the fourth and last book in the series, Witch of Rostil by J.F. Rivkin. Now, J.F. Rivkin is a bit of a mystery. Sources say it's probably likely two women writers. Other sources claim one writer wrote the books, but it's been vague. So nobody really, to this date, nobody really knows or has come forward to really say who wrote these books or have identified themselves. So these are the four books, and they're good stories, rousing, straightforward adventure novels. And the next series that I want to present, basically along the same lines as the Corson books, Silverglass, is the Asa Drake collection of three novels. And Asa Drake is a writer named C. Dean Anderson. C. Dean Anderson is a science fiction writer and fantasy writer of stories. So this features, the main character is called Bloodsong, and it features great cover art by Boris Vallejo. And this is a beautiful copy, clean, fine copy of this book, Warrior Witch of Hell. And the third book in the series, also by Boris Vallejo, is called We're Beasts of Hell, as by Asa Drake and Bloodsong. A lot of these stories feature themes that you find in Nordic mythology. C. Dean Anderson seems to have been influenced by that type of Viking and Nordic type of mythology. So this is the second book, We're Beasts of Hell, featuring the lead protagonist, Bloodsong. And this is the third book in the series, Death Riders of Hell. Um, this is by far the best cover. Features some of the tropes of fantasy with the swords and kind of the monster in the background, and very inviting to the reader. The warrior woman, Bloodsong, must face the ghoulish emissaries of evil and battle to the death to the forces of hell. So that's the third book, Death Riders of Hell. So that's today's presentation. So I hope you enjoyed. And again, thanks for all of those who subscribed. So continue to subscribe, and I'll show you some more books in my collection, varied collection that I've collected over the years, featuring both science fiction, fantasy, and even some of my Western collection. All right, thanks again. Remember to like, feel free to comment, and if possible, please subscribe. Okay, thanks. Bye.